Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Stephen West. We're Centerline News. Let's get into it. Now, I've been dreading to make this video. I'll tell you why. We are now day 27 since Nancy has disappeared. And just like, well, not like everybody, I don't want to make a video that I will later end up saying I got it wrong. Now, I get it. There's a lot of news people that are much bigger than me. They sensationalize all this stuff. They make 1,000 videos and they do very well. Like I said, there's been a lot of profiteering off of Nancy's disappearance. And I'm going to get into a couple of things that I'm going to shock you, okay? And if you read the title, you'll basically know, yeah, she's dead, okay? These are things that the FBI either didn't want to tell you or they really botched it bad, and the local police, because I'm going to point you to some sites. I'm just going to, it's called The Face of Death. And that website, if it's still up and whatever, years back, it was many years back, it had a lot of deaths, and that's why it was called The Face of Death. And I used to watch this intensely because there were some videos that just, like I said, I didn't even want to watch that anymore because of the blood splatter and someone getting executed and that video being posted on this for, it was almost like these videos were being made back then for click views. So yeah, one of them was, I've seen straight on shots where you get blood splatter behind. Different shots, different angles. So, without boring you with the details, I'm going to get into this because this isn't a video that I want to make, because I know everyone wants to believe she's still alive. But you know what? If they would have been honest with everybody and they would have been telling you, hey, this is a murder scene. And the minute that I looked at this, I knew that there were some issues, okay? And I just don't know where to begin, but I figure let me tell you what I found, okay? And then I'll go in and go into detail, kind of backwards to the initial where I feel the gunshot went off. But I want to do a couple things first, okay? Now, this isn't the best image that I have, but I want to see this. Looks like it's a plastic baggie or some kind of bag, and you're going to see it on the next photo. I want to just start showing you things that it took me hours to start viewing this image to understand the blood spatter. Why is it over here? Okay, why is it over here? Why is there a little bit right here? It looks like. Why is there some here? And you see this is pooled. Okay. Go in on this. This is the only blood that we have pooled. And most of the blood droplets, when they hit, they will leave a white mark because it hits and it turns into a ring. These both have center drops. Now, I went in, we'll show you this. I first thought, wow, this might have been like her face being face down, and these were her glasses and imprint. Here's another kind of wiggly thing. And I'll show you the next photo. No, but it's clearly, I'm going to tell you the steps. This happened to me. This was step 2. She was executed right here. I'm going to go in, show you all this blood splatter. Folks, again, I am not a pro. I've never killed anybody, but I've watched enough videos, movies, real evidence, and like I said, hundreds of videos of faces of death, and that's blood splatter. That's blood splatter from either blunt force trauma, meaning somebody is continually getting hit in the head with like the back of a gun or whatever, butting it. But to me, all the I can't even say the word, blood spots are so clear to see. Now, anybody that is in forensics will know that is if this was a wall and someone was shot back in the head right here, okay, can you see this right here between, not where the main arteries are, shot straight through where it's mostly muscle back here. You pretty much sever the spinal cord, but your mouth opens, and that's where all that, your nose, your mouth, all that drop is coming from the exit wound. Okay, so I said there are so many blood droplets. Okay, that would indicate it was. This is like the, like you just was splattered. That's why you don't see many running marks. This is clearly a splat. It's not just a. It's a. It's a line indicating that they were going out. Oops, in this direction. Now, you can go back in here and you could see that I'm going to show you in the photo that the blood splatter goes all the way. Okay, the blood splatter goes all the way up to here, folks. Okay, this isn't normal. Getting punched in the face, you don't get millions of blood splatter. Look at all this right here. This is, she was executed, guys. And I avoided looking at the photo because I was so busy trying to get the video colorized. And then I came back and I'm like, wait a minute. Anybody in forensics would know this is a exit wound. All this, to the lines here, this is where I made all the lines coming out, where you could see it's just splatter. It's just like a spray can. It just spray. It's not going to have a lot of run, but there are spots that you could see identified that it's moving away. So with more, hardly anything over here. But you got a lot here and a lot here. Now, I don't have many things to demonstrate, but if Nancy was pulled out of the door, she opened up the door, who is it? Was pulled out by her hair, pushed down, and he came back and he executed her. Now, you'd say, okay, where's the bullet? Well, there's all kinds of bullets. Like there's called hollow points that would, as soon as you fire, it goes into 6 or 7 small pieces, and it would literally just fragment, and you would have to look for little marks that are part of the fragments. You see a lot of new stuff that is part of the bush, okay, but all this other stuff down here, you want to take into consideration that could be part of the bullet fragments. Now, again, there's other bullets that are designed to disintegrate, so you don't fire through a wall and it hits somebody else. But, folks, anybody that doesn't say this is blood splatter from a gunshot or completely blunt object, I mean, complete. It's going all the way up to the flowers. I mean, we can go in here, you can see here, it's all the way in here. It looks like it's all the way, guys, all the way, boom, boom, all the way, boom, 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 okay, all the way, boom, 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 all the way over here, boom, 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 okay, way away from here, man. You know how you get that kind of blood, folks? It's not from punching somebody, okay? It's from a gunshot or from a blunt, like from a bat, like, and I just don't know why he would use a bat. The thing is when people are sleeping, it's hard to hear a gunshot. He might have had a silencer up. I don't know if there's a silencer for a Glock 17, but a Glock 17 is a smaller unit, smaller gun, and AI and me, we went back. I got 3 AIs going at one another saying, this is what this IA said. What do you say? What do you say? And finally came back with basically they were all feeding off each other to coming back saying, well, if it said this, then let me recalculate. They got over 95% that it was a Glock 17. Okay, and I reported this, but look, the FBI either knew this was a straight up execution or they're completely, I don't even want to use the words this thing. When you don't hire the best, man, the best, the B people, I used to say this in the 80s, okay? When I used to do computers, I'd work for people. You got, I, the computer guy, would be hired by the A's, the owners, the wife and husband team. Boom. And then they would hire B's underneath them because if they hired other A's, they would learn their business and they'd become their competition. So they hire people just smart enough that wouldn't go into competitions. They're B's. Now B's, they to hold their job security and title don't hire other B's or A's. They hire C's. So what happens is once you get people, now look, there's some wonderful people in the FBI and in local law enforcement, but there are people in there, folks. They're dumber than a box of rocks. Whoever didn't report this as an execution after seeing all this blood splatter. And I still hear people reporting today that there's no way this was just like a folks, I'm going to spend 10 minutes on this because I'm going to challenge everybody's wacky theory that somehow someone that's bleeding this profusely, that had this much splatter. Think about that. If you had that much splatter, if it was a bug or it was, anything, if it was an animal, like if it was a cat and you were going to hit it with a baseball bat, how hard would you have to hit it to create all that splatter? And how many times? A lot. Remember, this is concentrated splatter, folks. You can see the more dots, it's focused, and it just everything came right out of her mouth and hit the ground. Everything. And this is where I'm going to show you guys now where I think how this all went down. Let me get the better picture here. Okay, I'll get to that next. Now, we're going to do a few things. Now, again, if there could be 2 million people that watch this video, God bless you. This is for Nancy and the family members. Look, my heart truly goes out. My mother was kidnapped, but not in this way. Kidnapped legally, restraining orders, said I was a bad guy, and her family was able to basically leave her in a room and let her die and steal all my show business, my Coogan trust money. So I have a lot of suspicion that this was money motivated in other ways, okay? Because either Nancy really pissed somebody off and they, like I said, pros take the bodies, okay? Pros don't leave the bodies. So when people say this guy wasn't a pro because he grabbed flowers, this was a pretty cocky, confident pro because he wanted to cover the cameras long enough for her to open the door, and you can see they are all gone. So I'm going to explain to you. Now remember, I've already now pointed out that there is a bag here. And we're going to go back. Let me show you guys here. Now, did anybody report this? Look at this. This could have been the breaking of the case. Did the FBI and the local police even see this? Because to me, this looks like something identifiable. Now, either somebody left that, it's not part of this bush, okay? I'm sorry, it's not. I mean, unless somebody, I believe you have a right to your own opinion, and it's not part of the flower. Okay, shit, I'm sorry. Let me get back to, it wants to pop to my other photo. I'm going in. But you can see it here, okay? And let me now try to get back to this guy. And you can see, all right, now we're going to get it. All right, I can't pull it any closer, but you can see this looks like it's a tag or a baggie or a tag. Look, this could have been, why didn't they tell us? I mean, maybe they got it, maybe they didn't. Maybe somebody that, just was up there looking for memorabilia took it. But what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to teach you what I think exactly happened based on my 60 years on this planet. And it's all speculation. But I'm going to point out so many things in this video, folks. You're going to walk away going, this guy is possibly onto something. Now, I like skeptics. I love the people that say, you're wrong, this is all different, right? Because they motivate me to then back my stuff up with more factual stuff. So what we're going to do here, folks, is we're going to zoom in, and I'm going to tell you how I think it all went down. And I've already even sent this to the local police in Tucson. All right. Now, everybody thinks this guy, after he put the flowers on, that he went like knocked on the door. This was considered a, in prison they will talk to this about what they call is like a knock knock. They come force, they bang really loud on the door. They make the person inside feel that it's a police, it's an emergency. Hey, your car's on fire. Really? What? Open, bang, and it happens in seconds. So this was designed. You could tell when he was walking up, just the way he walked up, folks. Again, since you don't do this stuff, or you haven't talked to enough people that do home invasion robberies and why they do them and everything. So he was walking up, and then, he turned, he saw the camera, and it's like, okay, I got a 15-20 second detour here. Let me go get some bushes. So what I think happened after he covered that, he took off his backpack. He pulled out the tarp, and I believe that he either possibly even laid it out. Because remember how dark it was, folks. And I'm going to go into some things. I'm going to show you the video later. But he had a bicycle, that you can, they're click on, click off. They're little tiny, and they go to the bike. And you could take them off, and they're tiny enough to put in your mouth. And that's why I said that I've seen the ones, but this is why I think it's a bicycle, because at several times he was able to put that in, take it all the way in his mouth and bring it back out, all the way out and bring it back out. And I try to explain to the police is at some point, him in there that long, he didn't keep that flashlight in his mouth for an extended period of time, okay? At some point he took it out. And that's when he got his DNA on his glove, and it's probably somewhere in that house. I'm convinced he left some DNA based on the fact that sometime through this process of him doing stuff, he, like I said, can you imagine keeping that flashlight in your mouth? Especially if it was metal. If it was metal, you just biting on it, it's gonna like almost hurt your teeth, because you gotta bite down on it hard to keep it stable, and you're nervous. Yeah, to me it's yuck. So I more see is I got one. It's a Schwinn, and it's rubberized, so you can really, it's easy. You can hood it out, click it, nice light, put it back in, suck it out, put it back. So that's remind me it was a bike light, not one of a like the mini flashlights. Because remember, if he could suck it back in, it's almost gonna choke him. So no, my opinion, he had a bicycle. And again, I told that to the FBI. Go search the local bike places in Walmart and who sold those. That's probably where you're going to get more lead on them. And we're going to show you the video of how many times he turned on and off the light with his mouth. So he obviously, like I said, in order to do that, that's got to not be the normal flashlight. Those are, like I said, they're the bicycle ones where literally right in front of it, that, like I said, you could just put your lips over it and you could shut it. Even with the light on, you could shut your mouth. But you usually just have it right in your teeth, click on. The rubber one you might be able to keep in for maybe 45 minutes. But based on my gut instinct, so not only that, I'm going to prove to you he had something else that looked like another something else in his right pocket. Maybe that's what he used to do the blunt force. But this, folks, this is considered blunt force, with as many drops around here, that it's just not someone that is bleeding from the nose. I'm not even going to use their names because I don't want to embarrass them, and would love to be on their shows one day. But these are people that are getting 500,000, 1 million views a video. And they say these are like drops from somebody that got a bloody nose, okay? Or just, was... look, the person that did this didn't have a hospital. Okay, who's going to stop the bleeding? Did he come with the bandage kit? Didn't look like it. Again, so what he did, folks, if this is a professional hit, he had his backpack off laying in the corner. He already had this tarp out. So what he did is he did the knock knock. I call it the cop knock knock. This is why, folks, you never open up your door when it's an aggressive knock. Think about that. If it's an aggressive knock, and if it's not, it's the police, I have a search warrant, open up, And if you can't identify it's the police, don't open up. Just don't open up. See, this door, he couldn't have got in it. She had to have opened it up. So what happened is she opened up the door. So as you can tell, he had the gun pointed on the right side, but he went to like check it with his left hand. He checked it. Remember, he didn't check it with his right, with his left. Because what happened is he probably had his hand on the door. She went to open up and he pulled real hard. Because see, cops do that, and I've done that done to me. I open up the door, woo! They pull it out, right? So he probably did. So I wouldn't be surprised if this guy has some law enforcement technique, because this is the way someone that professionally raids a house would do that. He would pull her out of the house, grab her hair with his right arm, his hand, keep her down. She was probably already going down on her knees, and on her way down, bang, shot her right there. So phase one, shot in the back of the head. This is all from the mouth, all from the mouth, all the bigger drops, all from right after the mouth, the spray, and then the drop, because he shot her, and he's like, I'm sure he held it for probably 2 or 3 seconds until she went limp. Now remember, she could still be alive. That's why the pacemaker didn't go off. So she can't yell, she can't scream. She shot right through the back with possibly, it was a, like I said, there's all kinds of different bullets that wouldn't, like I said, it would have to be a hollow point, breaks apart. It'd have to be a pointed, like a jacketed bullet to go straight through, and then it wouldn't leave that kind of impression. See, that kind of impression you get from splatter. From, like I said, when you see a video of someone getting shot frontal on the back of the wall, you'll see this same, that's why I did it. Right now you can almost see this is the back of a wall. There's hundreds of photos that show this same splatter from a shotgun. And like I said, I don't want to get my channel in trouble, because I'm telling you, I'm already risking getting demonetized for this, not get pushed through the algorithm, and possibly even a strike, because, this is borderline stuff, but it's news. I think it's credible. I've spent a lot of time on this because I feel it's important. So I wanted to let you guys know, look, Nancy was murdered within 3 seconds of her opening the door. Okay, and let me just tell you how it went down next, and so you'll kind of understand. All right. Before we go into any detail, I'm going to flip it upside down. Now remember, this is, maybe not, let me see. Let's rotate again. Okay. All right, so I gotta say, it's not letting me flip it. Oh, because it's trying to save it because I'm doing a video. All right, says what here, I'll have to flip it again. Anyway, it's not letting me, weird, isn't it? Anyway, by me flipping it, let me just see if I can hold it here. No. All right, will it hold that? No, it won't hold any of the photos. Weird when I'm recording. So what I wanted to show you is the view from Nancy, and understand this look at this as the initial kill shot. There's another blood splatter area, and then some random, you got a line here from his dot to this dot. Okay, so like I said, I can bore you with details, but there's something that means there. Okay, there's nothing here in the middle. Okay, nothing, and some blood here. Okay, so boom, she goes down, he pulls her out, and obviously her other part of the body wasn't bleeding, but it's clear to me, once she's dead, she goes limp. Okay, if not dead, just unconscious and slowly bleeding out. And like I said, when you are shot in the throat and you're still held up upright, your blood will go into your throat and into your stomach. This is why you don't see the blood. This is why this was a pro. A pro knows that when you shoot someone just to that angle, you're going to get, basically, like I said, you're going to get a hole in someone's neck. You're going to get the result of this spray pattern. But after that, all you're going to get are these drops. Now, let's go into some more stuff that I found. Could be wrong, but like I said, I think initially her knees went down, bang, she was pretty much dead 3 seconds after she was shot. He ended up taking her here, and this is where her face lied for a period of time. This could be her bridge of her nose, that could be her mouth, that could be her nose dipped into there, and that would have been the bridge. There's a logical reason why we have this pattern. Okay, now I don't know, but there's a reason. Meaning, there you're going to be able to search enough blood pattern scenes and to see this is a piece of the body that is touching and leaving that imprint. It's not a drip. It's not a drop. It's an imprint, and it's. I don't think it's a shoe. Okay, and you've got this action here and a little bit here. I can't. I'd have to be at the crime scene to see it, but I said you could see just how far the blood splattered. Okay, up and literally in the other photo it shows better, but this is the exit wound. Okay, and that's why it's so concentrated and just thousands of blood droplets. Again, I've watched enough fights. I've got Mike Tyson's autograph, and he will tell you when he hits somebody and they start bleeding, they'll get some blood droplets. But this would be enough spray on, someone would have to already be wounded and pounding them to get, and the blood's gushing out, and you pound them and it splat, pound, splat, pound, splat. So is that what he's doing? Was he holding her and just like pounding her face? That's another explanation. But because there was no teeth, nothing other indication that there was that kind of blunt force trauma, I think he ended it with a shot. Okay, and like I said, these houses are so far away. If someone's sleeping, folks, you go hear a shot, it'll wake you up, but you won't know why you woke up. You didn't hear the shot because you were asleep. The shot woke you up. Only certain really, really light sleepers, if you got a TV on and you're a heavy sleeper, you probably didn't hear one shot, one kill, pro. Boom, dead. Right there. Okay? And if you don't agree with me, fine. You tell me what else would cause that splatter. There's only one thing or two things, blunt force trauma, and that would either be from a bullet, would probably be a fragmenting bullet, like a jacketed bullet, not a jacketed bullet. I mean I already call it a hollow point, or a self-exploding bullet that explodes. So it'll explode in a wall. It'll hit somebody and kill them, but it'll just absorb. If it was in the back, that would cause the splatter. That's why there's a one-time splatter shot all here. One shot. Straight down. Hitting everywhere. So this is what my theory is. Bang, she was dead. Or nearly dead. She fell. Her face, the door's still open. Hit here to a certain point. Okay? He obviously had something laid out here. He came with a backpack. It was already off. He was ready for the execution. Now you know this happened. So if he had this plan, if she opens up the door, I'm going to pull on the door, I'm going to yank her out, grab her with my right arm, and bang, it's over. Because you couldn't really do it in another way to get that result. That result is coming down almost, like I said, at about, and what do you call it, 11:30 o'clock, not 12, but just that's why I almost felt it was like the head was being pushed down beyond flat, which that would be, it's like if you stood and you were bent, pushed down like this, that would explain why the shot was almost going backwards, because you would hold someone's head with your hand and then bang, and you don't need to be a good shot. You just need to be able to pull the trigger with the left hand. That explains that. And unless the only other thing when it was a crazy would she'd already fell on the ground and he shot her while she was on the ground. It's possible based on these, okay, but you wouldn't get that spray. So my inclination is that she was on her way down about a foot, because remember that I'll show you on the other picture. Look how far the blood droplets go. I mean, look at these blood droplets. For anybody that thinks that she wasn't shot. You can't hold somebody long enough to get that kind of concentration, because to me, that's like you spit and it like just all at once, bang, and then the splatter. See, what really gets me here is I get this. See, this tells me, and again, I'm not going to go into all detail, folks, but that tells me almost more than I need to know. Why? Because that's the most consistent pattern that we've got here. So what does that tell me as far as the pattern? What does this tell me right here? I'll tell you. Like I said, in the other photo, I show you, I break down where I think the impact was, where it exited. Maybe it was through her cheek, okay? Maybe that's why there's not, but she was shot. This is being shot, folks. All these, that's why I just circled these to let you know. These just don't come out from the kill zone, okay? They just don't. And they don't leave linear drop patterns, even though they didn't have, like I said, this is the only clear identifiable moving. And so that would indicate to me her head was past vertical when she was shot. Back this way, back toward her, because he didn't want to get shot. Think about it. You grab somebody, you pull her head down, and you go back, boom. That would make sense. Because to me, see this and that, and this, that tells me, that's why you see all these arrows more than going this way. Because in my opinion, it was so centered, if not back, you can see that these linear lines going out this way. And you wouldn't get these splattered. You'd get, if it was more at a other angle, you just get splattered from a certain spot and on. This spatter mark indicates to me head was pulled over at least 3 to 4 feet off the ground. She was shot, because that would show of why there was so much blood over here. Why didn't anybody do a video on this? I'm so embarrassed that I didn't jump on this 27 days ago. But folks, anybody that doesn't think that this isn't a gunshot or from extremely blunt force trauma, they've hid this from us. Okay? They've hid it from us. And I got a lot more. Check this out. This is what I'm going to tell you. I told the police, and again, they stopped even responding to me, because I'm like, hey, you got to put me on TV. Let me help, and I can talk to this perpetrator to get the body back if it hasn't been, let's just say it hasn't been put into a 50-gallon drum with acid and it's gone. Okay? Pros take the bodies. Whether if there's a crime where they took a piece of paper or $1 million, they take the bodies. Okay? So this indicates everything he got dressed up in indicates this guy was a pro, and the fact that Flowers shows me how cocky he just was, like, obviously I got a camera, let me just throw some. But in order to do this, to shoot somebody, okay, and the blood splatter goes, like I said, when you look at it, you can see blood splatter. This looks like it here, and I'm sure the crime scene, they're going to hose it down. Matter of fact, when you watch this video, the FBI is so dumb, they've hosed this down. So, this is all we got. Because, see, look, that's why I said to you, she was shot in the face here. Her body came to rest here. Okay? And then once she got from here, she goes probably, like I said, she got pulled back up. This would indicate those 2 drops. Her face went down for that mere maybe 1 or 2 seconds where he let go of the body. He grabbed the tarp. He pulled the tarp closer. Okay, and he pulled the tarp. Here's the tarp. He pulled the tarp, which you can see the blood stops right here. Here's a line. See, and a good detective work will say, wow, I see line, line, line. So that meant that there was something laid down here on, because there would have been more blood. And this is where, let me get you even deeper here, guys. Okay? So, not only this little thing, which is probably going to be something that maybe was Nancy, maybe it was there prior. But if we've got video of this all being clear, prior, then this was left at the crime scene. What the hell is it? Okay, so let's just call this stage one. Stage two, clearly a part of the face was here. I always want to say, man, what if this was her glasses and it just, but I looked at another photo and it didn't, it looked like this was part of the stone, but it's clear this is called a pool of blood. Okay, big difference. Not much, but this is considered a pool of blood. All this means something. And I don't know because I don't have the clothes. I don't, like I said, but I'm telling you, somebody knows what this is. And now, like I said, it's going to get better because now I'm going to blow your guys' mind. Okay, you ready for this? Remember I told you he had to have put out something here. So she's down here, okay? And so now he has to, her body's at this angle, right? So what does he have to do here? He lifts her up, okay, to pull her over to the layer on the tarp over here. He lifts her up, and when he lifts her up, he drops a few more drops from here. Remember? Same drops, drop, 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 indicate first kill, all of these little circles, part of that. Now, rest here for less than what? 1 second. Go to grab the tarp. It's now pulled out. And then lift her back up. Another drop, never drop. Maybe even here, pulled back up. Some drops, and then came over to here and was pulling her body this way. So her feet were still this way. Her head started to get pulled this way. And then up onto the tarp. See, that would explain why you have just, I should be using my Photoshop, but you can see we have just a section here that he worked with. You couldn't have the bag over here, okay? And remember, there's some other drops, so it gets better. I already said there was another piece of machinery that was involved in this, folks. Now, let me just tell you, I don't have the exact answers, but I learned something here. Two things. You got blood splat and you have drip, okay? So, when you have blood splatter and you have drip, something different happened than you just have blood drop, not drip. Okay, because I consider this a drop because it's leaving a drop. A drip is smaller. So let's just see where we have drops and drips. Okay, we have drops and drips. You have drop, drop, not really. You got little ones here, nothing here, just a big, 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 one little one. Looks like to me on the move. Okay, over here, you got a combination of little, little, and big, big right here. Okay, you got a combination of little and big, little and big. That means a couple things are going on, folks. You don't have little and big at the same time unless you got more than one wound. I mean, if you're really gushing that much where something's coming out and you got a secondary, like drip, 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 that means it's pretty bad, folks. This isn't, and it's quick. So what he did, like I said, he got her onto the tarp where that was his job. That's what he had in his backpack. Pardon me. Now, with that said, it gets even freakier. Now you can see there's nothing else going on this side. You can see this is part of this cement area here. Maybe like from water sitting for an extended period of time, you would see like the water, okay? But now this is where it gets really good. All right, little bit left here, blood. And I looked at him like, why would there just be blood not on here? Not on where but you got a little bit of here, but what would leave blood here? It's not a drop, right? It's what you call a splatter. Pardon, my bad. It's called transfer. It's not drop, but it's where a particular, your hand, this could have been a hand, it could have been part of her face, it could have been anything, but it was something that they had to rest on the ground for a particular second and then get, like I said, as far as I look at it, the head went down, still holding the head, bang. That all of a sudden, shit, all right, it's over. Head down, sit here. That's where you got the pool of blood. Grab the tarp, pulled it the rest of the way, lift the head back up because it was like, why? She's limber now. The head, lifted the head up and started pulling her, and he pulled, and as he got her back up, hair the started the face, because that's where the blood was coming out the face. It started dropping, drop, 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 and then it came pulling this way to get the head down here. So remember, since the head was what was leaking, he got the head over here first, where the body was still laying, and like I said, the tarp was here, in my opinion. And that's why I said in my analysis is that he was done with the backpack. He had the tarp out. There wasn't much left in it. He could wrap everything in. I have a feeling that he probably, if he didn't have time, if he already had the tarp out, then he had the bag there. And he put her head in the bag. And that's why I said you find the bag, you probably find it's got blood in it. Is my opinion. That's the only way you would stop this blood. Now this, I'm going to come up, and I've left this for the last, folks. And I'm going to hope you see what I see. And this is what I reported to the FBI. And to a normal eye, you're not going to know what you're looking at. And I do. And I'm not going to tell you. If you figure it out, great. But see, to me, what I'm going to give you a clue on is some things. Okay? See these two lines? You got these two lines. Okay? See these two dots and these two lines? You see these two dots? See the line? Okay? See that line? Two dots, two dots. Okay? Now, some people think, and even I did when I looked at it, possibly his feet. Okay, he stepped over here, and then when he turned around and he was pulling the tarp, that he was pulling away. This is the exit. This is how he got rid of the body. And I think it was a cart. And I'll tell you how I think he did it too. Because remember, this took me a lot of time to figure out crime scene reconstruction. Okay, so you can clearly see that if I just put this right here, you can see the drop blotlets, and you can see the cart or dolly or shoes that he's sliding back. But remember, want to validate. If these were shoes, then if he was here, he started dragging or sliding the bag. These droplets here would have scrape marks on them. There'd be still too fresh that if you pulled a tarp over them, you would see drag marks. You don't see any drag marks anywhere. But it's clear, I don't think he had the time. Like I said, it's splatter. If the heart stopped, there's not a lot of blood. Once you stop the heart, folks, there's not a lot of blood that's going to be pumping. Like I said, if he did this right and he held her head up, most of the blood that was coming out was either going into her clothes or it was going into her stomach and her lungs. That's why you don't see the blood that you need to see to say this was a execution. I see the blood dots. I see the splatter. I see execution. I see the second spot, first spot, second spot, brought up, third over here to the fourth, dot, 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 and then still pulling her body out of the doorway till about right here, and then she was probably rolled onto the tarp. Okay, now, done. As I said, she was probably wrapped up in that tarp and left there for the time that this perpetrator was in. He came back, okay, and he had some type of dolly. Because I'm telling you, to me, this reminds me of like a wheel that rolls. A wheel that he would turn and then slide. Again, I could be wrong, but there's something with these identical, these marks, and these. Could it be his shoes? Possibly. But again, it doesn't line up with the theory that if he already had a dead body in a bag over here, why would he be stepping backwards? Because this looks like he's doing that. See, that looks like a wheel that bopped, and then you turn the wheel, whoop, turn sideways. See, have you ever worked in a warehouse? Probably not. But if you worked in a warehouse, you'll know these are clear wheel marks from a wheel that turned, a wheel that turned, and then it went about its way. To me, that looks like there's wheels that have casters that are, and they sell them, and they're not a solid wheel, folks. They're like I wouldn't say like a skateboard wheel, but they have outers, and they're like a what do you call it? A yo-yo, okay? This would indicate the swivel mark, to my opinion. It got pulled and swiveled. This was pulled and swiveled. Something was pulled and swiveled. That's why I told them and the FBI, which they don't believe me. I think what happened is that he pulled up this dolly. It'd basically be a flat dolly, okay? This would be the front wheels of the dolly, because the front wheels are different than the bigger wheels. So my guesstimate is this was either some type of a dolly that when you can, I remember I'm worked in a warehouse, so you can take the dolly and it's a double type. So it's not only that, you can do it as a lay down. So on the top part, it's got wheels. And sometimes they will have, depending on the design, they'll have a line that's through the caster for gripping. And that's where you're seeing these two lines. The only reason why you're seeing these two lines is it had to have blood on it. Where it got blood on it, that's a good question. Possibly from being put on. But if you ask me, after she was killed and she was dragged and she was put onto here, this was pulled up as close as he could to getting the body. And I think he basically came around here and he loaded it up. Here's where we loaded up, and the wheels, the casters that were here. The part of the other part where the handles go straight up are right here. These are the handles that go straight up past these wheels. Right here, it's like the little connectors of wheel, my opinion. And then back here is the bigger part. So she's already laid out on this, and he could roll her up, and then he just slid over here and got her up here, almost out of screen, and took her to the vehicle. That's only a one-way, a one-man guy could do it. He couldn't carry her with the backpack, so he'd have to go to several trips. Now, what I think he did is he killed her. He wrapped her up, and then he went inside. He used the bathroom, probably cleaned up, used a towel to clean up and put it back in so it looked like he didn't do anything. And like I said, washed off all the blood, went around. Now, I think this is an inside job because if nothing taken, he was probably in there looking for paperwork to do with Nancy's businesses, or who knows. People do it. Nancy could have other things going on, okay, and had access to more money than you know. So we're never going to know the underlying. And like I said, there's a lot of things the FBI that will never tell you, and we're going to get into it, folks. So now you know. I'm going to spend this whole time, and I really don't want to spend too much time making it too long a video, so I'm just going to focus in on, look, Nancy's dead. She died 3 seconds after she opened the door, okay? And that's why, again, you're going to say the monitor should have caught the heart rate. Well, maybe Nancy wasn't killed until later on. But again, this doesn't lie. You've got a crime scene. This is a murder, okay? This is spray, blood droplets, the spray. If it was just blood droplets, okay. And I've been telling this, if it was just blood droplets, folks, it'd be okay. This looks like, you'd say acne, right? Imagine these were blackheads. Okay, imagine all these were blackheads. Is that a coincidence? Okay, all these splatter. See, if you ever know about splatter, you'll know that's splatter when you see it. Initial impact. After that, then the blood started drop, drop, drop. Okay? Came down to here. Probably never even hit, just the head was over here. Her knees were probably at the ground. And then, like you said, he pulled her a little bit and dropped her head here to grab or put out whatever he was going to do because it's just long enough to pull, right? You've got this pull here, which could her face been there for a quick second? Possibly. But to me, this looks like too big, perfect of a. This is called splatter, folks. Anybody thinks she's alive just doesn't understand forensics. This is why the FBI maybe didn't put a lot of emphasis on trying to quote unquote find her alive. All the ransoms, in my opinion, are bogus because she was killed. She was executed. Okay? And they took the body. So I'll let you be the one to decide why they executed her and took the body and decided not to take anything. Gold, jewelry. That's why I said, since the FBI doesn't tell us everything, we're never going to know. Now, I'm going to go and make another video because I think this is long enough. But it's late night. I just figured, look, I'm going to get it on the internet, and even if 100 people. But look, you guys got to put it out there because you need to put this thing to rest. I think everyone else did a horrible job at reporting. They overlooked this. They overlooked the guy that initially, like I said, I watched these videos at the gate. The first night there was a guy saying about the still shot. The guy was there before. You can tell that there was no angle on him. And why would Kash Patel only give us a freeze frame? We already know that that was probably on the video. The only conclusion I came up with is that if she had some kind of bulldog feature, that the camera kicked on and it took a shot if they see any movement. But that doesn't jive with the other photos. So if Kash didn't give us the full video, like I said, it's really hard to play guessing games and all that. All I can tell you, if this was posted on the internet, if this is real and it's not fake, if these photos are actually Nancy's house and they're not been manipulated, then you've got the crime scene, you've got the secondary drop, you've got pause, you've got turned over here, pulled out the tarp, lifted up the head, drop, 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 pulling her out. Because remember, he was pulling her out, so it wasn't going to be straight. It's a little bit of wiggly. Got her out more, got her out more, got her out more, and got her head onto the whatever he was using. Okay? That's what he did, folks. Can you see? This is it, man. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like when you're a kid, you got to play the connector, little connectors. I'm not trying to make fun of this at all, but it's that obvious, okay? I'm sorry you guys don't see it, and if you do, congratulations. So I'm going to end this video by saying, look, Savannah, I'm so sorry for your mom. I lost my mother to family and over my show business money. So even though you think everybody in your family is cool, everybody's a suspect until you can get to the bottom of this, because these kind of things, based on him showing up before, bringing with the briefcase, the instant execution, it reeks of inside job. Maybe not family, friends, acquaintance, someone that worked or knew the family. A lot of times, it could be someone retaliating against one of the family members by saying, okay, you know what, I can hurt you. I'm going to go X somebody from your family. So again, folks, I wish that I had different news, man. This is blood matter and splatter, which is going to be what you're seeing here. I'm sorry, guys. This is 100% proof. This is a gunshot wound to the top of the head from overhead. This is blood and skull matter spray out of the mouth and eyes splattering on the ground right there. Okay? Mostly I'm assuming out of the mouth because, she's already getting grabbed and pulling down. She's already, bang. And so now you know how it happened, folks. if you like videos like this, if you like to give a thumbs up, I've worked really hard. This is probably going to be the last video because now I know she's dead. Everything else that people are telling you is a lie. Everything else they're just doing for clicks and everything. I'm going to be moving on to other content soon. But again, I really appreciate you guys. I have a deep wanting to find this guy, but based on everything, I don't think we're going to find him. He's a pro. He came prepared. He came to get the body. There was no other thing that he came to do but to get and execute her right at the door with no questions asked. So that's my opinion, my professional opinion on being a former child actor, being ransomed, being involved with some bad people, talking to people that have been to level 4 prison, and watching a lot of, who did it videos. And like I said, my experience on Faces of Death. So if you really want to, you can go to that site. If it's still available, you can view all kinds of walls and crime scenes of after effect, of gunshots, blunt force, okay? Because what I said, usually with blunt force, you're going to get the lines because you smack and then it flies off. But that's why I said there was one line that made me think possibly blunt force. Possibly blunt force is this one right here, okay? This one right here. This is a sign of blunt force, folks. Okay? This is why I said if she died this way, wow. Because then what happened is he was just holding her head. And like I said, these are the things. See this pattern here? That pattern here? That's an indication of blunt force trauma. Because it doesn't jive with this. But again, I can't in the blood splatter. So again, if I'm wrong with the gun, then I am right with the splatter, because you'll see here's splatter, here's a splatter pattern. I mean not splatter, I mean a impact splatter. And you can go, like I said, there's plenty of others, but see all over here, none. No impact splatter. The only thing I could say is that how that happened is by him holding her head. Again, I need to do a little bit more studying, but come on, FBI, you guys should have been catching this stuff. Now, I've just caught so many things on this one video. So yeah, this is not common. This is not common. So again, I wanted to save it for last, but to me, this is the blast point. This, did he really hit her too? What would that cause from? Because that's from impact. That's a splatter line. That's a splatter line. Now, unless she was bleeding in the shot, and then because maybe pulling up the head, but this is something that I would analyze in the FBI. Again, I can't believe they didn't go through here, but you can see this is all out. You can see this pattern, splatter going out. See these? You can't make this up. These don't lie. So these are coming away from this, or, which is worse, is that after this happened, maybe he hit her first, and then she started screaming, and so then he shot her in the head. That would indicate where he started hitting her, and she maybe started screaming, and then he finished her. But that's why I said, unless an expert can explain how this pattern here, and my little ones over here, which would indicate possibly, like I said, these could be from the initial, but this is a really big, I'd call it red herring, because this is a pattern. These, I don't think all these, I mean, they do kind of line up, right? But to me, there's a pattern, and I would look at it very, very hard. So again, I could talk to you guys about this for hours, but 100% Nancy's no longer with us. I appreciate if the person that did it, anybody, Nancy is part of the show business family, and You cannot live in America where actors or their families are being targeted. We got to find this guy because the show business people have a lot of money. And if the FBI and the police don't want to get this guy, just my opinion, you got Universal, Paramount, a lot of actors, and they all got moms, okay? They don't want their mom going down like this, okay? And they don't want to have it where it's an unsolved case when and leading everybody in wrong directions and just completely botching this. Somebody should have came out and said that she was executed. Where it's an all-point bulletin. Again, maybe they did the kidnapping to try to throw them off. They're never going to tell us. But anybody that wouldn't look at this to see this is this was from blunt force trauma, friggin' dead, man. What are you kidding me? You kidding me? To get spray like that, gnarly, guys. Okay? To get spray all the way up here? All the way up here? You kidding me? All the way up here. All the way up here. She was just, hit on the nose. That's why these content creators just drive me bonkers. They're not being truthful with you. So, again, folks, until next video, I'm Stephen West, Centerline News. Get the word out. Take care.